Captain Elena Vargas stepped through the swirling blue portal and into a world unlike any she had ever seen. The air shimmered with soft light and gentle warmth. Beneath her boots, the ground was smooth white marble that glowed faintly under each step. Above her, graceful arches curved into a vaulted ceiling of crystal that caught the light and broke it into rainbow patterns. Elena paused for a moment to let her eyes adjust and to calm her racing heart. She was the first human ever, invited to the Ionis throne world of Etheria, and all she knew of her host planet had come from distant scans and brief diplomatic communiques. Her uniform was crisp white, with simple silver trim that marked her rank. She carried no weapon, for the Ionis people had insisted on a peaceful meeting. In her hand, she held only a small data pad containing her greetings and the history of Earth's leaders. Beside her, two Ionis attendants in flowing robes of pale lavender stepped forward to guide her. Their faces were serene, their voices soft and musical as they pointed the way. Elena followed them through a wide hallway lined with tall pillars carved from translucent stone. Each pillar held a glowing orb at its top, and inside each orb floated a tiny, luminescent creature like a firefly. The creatures drifted lazily, and their gentle pulsing light gave the hall a sense of calm peace. Elena found herself breathing more slowly as she walked. She felt welcomed, yet the beauty of the place made her feel small and humble. Finally, the attendants led her into the grand audience chamber. The room was vast. Its walls were of polished ivory decorated with bas-relief carvings of Ionis history, images of open skies, proud cities, and gatherings of many different beings. At the far end stood a raised dais of pale rose marble. On that dais sat Princess Lysera, the future ruler of this world. Lysera's skin was soft silver in the light, and her eyes were a clear shade of violet. She sat on a low bench carved from a single block of glowing crystal. Around her, the air felt charged as though every particle waited for her command. She was completely unclothed, in keeping with her people's ritual of openness of the soul. To the Ionis, clothing could hide thoughts and feelings. By standing bare before a guest, the princess showed she had nothing to hide. Elena drew a gentle breath and stepped forward. Her face was calm and respectful. She held her hands at her sides in a gesture of peace. In that moment, the silence filled with meaning. No words were spoken. Elena thought of how human customs might seem strange here. Our clothes, our hidden faces, our guarded hearts. She remembered her training and focused on the one truth she carried. Humanity came in peace. Princess Lysera's violet eyes widened, slightly at Elena's approach. For a moment, Elena saw surprise there, curiosity, and perhaps a hint of nervousness. The princess's lips curved into a faint smile, and with that, the ice broke. Elena bowed her head respectfully. In human culture, bowing was a sign of respect. She knew the Ionis did not bow, but they would understand she meant no offense. Lysera rose and stepped down from the dais. Her movements were graceful, as if she were part of the air itself. The princess approached Elena where she stood and studied her. Both women paused at the center of the chamber, each waiting for the other to make the first move. Then Lysera reached out her hand. Elena took the hand gently. It was cooler than she expected, and her fingers tingled with a faint electric pulse, part of the Ionis empathic bond. This bond allowed them to share simple feelings: comfort, respect, curiosity. Elena closed her eyes for a second and let herself feel Lysera's welcome. She sensed the princess's hope and her quiet fear. A leader's fear was always heavy, Elena knew, even for an alien royal. When Elena opened her eyes, she gave a soft nod. Lysera returned the nod, and together they walked back toward the dais. 2 rows of Ionis nobles sat on ivory benches, their faces glowing under the soft light. All of them watched, but none showed aggression. Instead, their eyes held polite interest. In that moment, Elena felt the weight of her mission. She represented not just Earth, but all humanity. If this meeting went well, it could open a new chapter of peace and cooperation in the galaxy. If it went badly, she dared not think of the consequences. At the base of the dais, Lysera spoke in her low, musical voice. Though neither spoke the other's language, each word was translated instantly into Elena's earpiece. "Welcome, Captain Elena Vargas of Earth. We thank you for coming." Elena replied in clear human standard. "Princess Lysera, I am honored to stand before you. I bring my people's friendship and respect." The nobles murmured softly. The murmur had no edge of fear or anger, only surprise and approval. Lysera inclined her head. "We wish to learn of your world, and to share with you all that Etheria can offer," she said. Elena felt a thrill of relief. She opened her datapad and began to speak of Earth. She described the wide oceans that covered 2/3 of the planet, the snowy poles, and the warm sunny lands near the equator. She spoke of human art and music, of endless libraries of stories, and of the simple joy of friendship. The chamber faded around her as she fell into the rhythm of her people's history. Lysera listened, her almond-shaped eyes never leaving Elena's face. The princess's expression changed as she heard of earthquake and storm, of wars won through skill and wars lost through arrogance, of the first moon landing and the building of floating cities. Each new fact painted a fuller picture of humanity in Lysera's mind. After Elena finished, Lysera raised a hand and motioned to a crystal chalice that hovered at her side. A gentle servant brought it down for the captain. Inside, the liquid glowed like captured starlight. "This is nectar of the lumen bloom," Lysera explained. "It is our welcome gift. Drink, and you will understand a little of our world's beauty." Elena took the chalice. The glass felt smooth and cool in her hand. She lifted it to her lips and sipped. The taste was soft and sweet, with a warmth that spread through her chest like sunlight. Images raced through her mind. The rolling fields, of glowing flowers at dawn, the laughter of naked children playing in crystal streams, the soft hum of the palace at night. It was as though she breathed in Etheria itself. When she set the chalice down, Elena's eyes shone. She felt connected in a way no words could express. Around her, the nobles leaned forward. The chamber was so silent she heard her own heartbeat. Princess Lysera spoke again. "Your world is strong and full of life. Let us build a bond that makes both our planets stronger." Elena bowed her head once more. "With all my heart, I agree." A soft murmur of approval rose through the chamber of truth. In that moment, two very different cultures took their first true step toward friendship. And though neither spoke of it, both Captain Elena Vargas and Princess Lysera knew that this meeting would change the fate of two worlds forever, born out of respect, curiosity, and the simple, powerful act of standing together, unguarded. Princess Lysera led Captain Elena Vargas out of the grand audience chamber and into a long corridor lit by soft golden light. The walls here were smooth and white, like polished bone, and inlaid with thin veins of silver that caught the light. As they walked, tall doors of luminous crystal stood at intervals along the hall, each carved with the delicate shapes of Ionis symbols. As they passed, Lysera gave Elena a gentle smile. "Welcome to the Hall of Truth," the princess said. Her voice was calm and musical, as though she spoke in song. Elena nodded, feeling both honored and curious. She had read reports of this place, but now she walked its shining floors and heard the gentle hum of its energy. They entered a wide chamber whose ceiling soared nearly 20 feet above their heads. Soft light poured in through a vast skylight framed by curved golden beams. Beneath their feet, the floor was a smooth mirror of pale blue stone. Along each side of the room stood tall pillars that pulsed with a faint inner glow. Between the pillars, niches held crystal seats, each shaped like an open hand. Lysera guided Elena to the first empty seat. She sat, legs folded beneath her, and gestured for Elena to do the same. Elena knelt and settled into the seat across from the princess. The crystal was cool but comfortable. "In this hall," Lysera explained, "we speak not only with words but with feelings. To sit here is to open your mind for honest sharing. It is our way to build trust without hiding anything." Elena looked into Lysera's violet eyes. She remembered the moment of the welcome gift, when she tasted the nectar and glimpsed the world through Ionis' senses. Now she felt a soft pulse of gentle warmth from her seat, a steady rhythm that matched her own heart. She took a quiet breath. On Earth, Elena began, we have many words for how people feel, but we also hide our feelings with smiles or polite phrases. We do this to protect ourselves. She paused. I will try to share honestly as you do. Lizera nodded. There is no shame in fear or doubt. We learn from each other when we show our true selves. Elena closed her eyes for a moment and let herself breathe in the calm energy of the hall. She thought of her journey here, the long hours of space travel, the care she took not to offend ancient customs, the hope she carried for peace. With each pulse from the crystal seat, she felt the tension in her shoulders ease. When she opened her eyes, she spoke again. I feel awe. I have stood before kings, and I have led soldiers, but I have never felt so small under such beautiful light. Lysera's lips curved into a soft smile. That is good. When we feel small, we see more clearly. She reached out, and a thin beam of silver light flowed between their palms. Elena felt a gentle warmth where their hands met. With the empathic bond, she sensed Lysera's calm welcome, and beneath it a spark of pride. I wonder, Elena said quietly, how you carry the weight of your people's hopes. Lysera's smile turned wistful. Since I was a child, I learned our rituals and our history. I practiced speaking for my ancestors and our future. Yet, I still worry. What if I make a mistake? What if my choices bring harm instead of peace? Elena felt a rush of sympathy. On Earth, many leaders felt the same doubt. Mistakes are part of life, she said. I have led my crew through hostile space. I made decisions that cost lives. I still remember them every day. But I learned from each one, and my people grew stronger. The crystal seat pulsed gently, as if in approval. Lysera leaned forward. Tell me more of your world. How do your people learn from mistakes? Elena relaxed, sensing the princess's sincere interest. We study our history. We hold councils where all voices speak. Even the smallest opinion can change the course of many. She paused, choosing her words. We forgive each other's errors, and we remember the lessons. That is how we survive. A soft glow spread through the pillars. Other nobles, who had listened from their crystal seats, leaned forward. None spoke, no need. The Hall of Truth required no applause. Their presence alone honored the exchange. Lysera closed her eyes and absorbed Elena's words. Then she spoke, her voice low. On Etheria, we show our minds, but we do not always listen well. We fear that if we admit our thoughts, others will use them against us. I see now that your people use truth as a shield, not a weapon. Elena smiled. We try, but we are not perfect. She reached out, placing a hand over the beam of light between them. Perhaps we can learn from each other. Lysera opened her eyes and nodded. The silver pulse quickened. Yes, we will show you our laboratories, our art, our history halls, and you will tell us of your libraries, your music, your communities. At that moment, a soft chime echoed through the hall. The crystal seats released their gentle hold on both women. Lysera rose first and Elena stood beside her. The nobles also rose, their pale robes swirling like water. No one bowed or curtsied. Their respect showed in open eyes and straight backs. A tall figure stepped forward from the group. He wore a robe of deep blue that glowed like the night sky. His hair was long and white, and his eyes held centuries of wisdom. He inclined his head to Elena. Captain Elena Vargas, he said in clear tones. I am High Chancellor Arian. On behalf of the Ionis Council, I thank you and Princess Lysera for this honest exchange. May our worlds grow closer. Elena bowed her head in return. Thank you, Chancellor. I look forward to our partnership. As they left the Hall of Truth, Lysera touched Elena's arm. You have a gift for honest speech, the princess said. On Etheria, we value strength of the mind. You have shown both courage and compassion. Elena smiled at the warm compliment. "I learned from the best," she replied, "and I have much more to learn from you." Outside the chamber, the corridor's light seemed softer. Lysera paused and pointed to a doorway of polished glass. Beyond it lay a garden of glowing flowers and gentle waterfalls. Light drifted through the clear roof, casting dancing patterns on the floor. "This is the Garden of Reflection," Lysera said. "Here, we meditate and share our deepest dreams." Elena stepped inside and felt the air shimmer with life. A soft breeze carried the scent of sweet flowers. She closed her eyes and listened to the water's gentle song. Lysera settled on a smooth stone bench beside a small pool. Elena sat next to her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Lysera began to hum, a soft, wordless melody that seemed to echo in Elena's mind. Elena recognized the pattern, a human lullaby her grandmother once sang. Surprised, Elena joined in, humming the rest of the tune. The notes blended with Lysera's melody, creating something new and beautiful. Around them, petals drifted on. The water and the light shivered in time with their song. When the melody ended, Lysera opened her eyes, her face glowing. "Your soul is strong, Captain. You carry home with you." Elena felt tears at her eyes. She touched the princesses, and you have shown me the meaning of openness." They sat together in silent friendship, two leaders from distant worlds, learning that true strength came not from hiding behind shields or armor, but from sharing their deepest fears and greatest hopes. In that secret moment, both understood that their growing bond would shape the future of two very different planets, and perhaps change the galaxy forever. The palace corridors hummed with soft light as Captain Elena Vargas and Princess Lysera returned from the Garden of Reflection. Their steps echoed on the polished floor, and courtiers paused to bow or offer gentle smiles. Elena carried a small toolkit at her side. Though she had worn no weapon, she always brought instruments for analysis and repair. Lysera walked beside her, her silver skin glowing in the corridor's light. They reached the heart of the palace, where the central energy core pulsed like a slow heartbeat. This core fed power to every wing, every light, every life support system in the Ionis throne world. It glowed bright blue, surrounded by transparent containment panels. Technicians in pale robes hovered over it, monitoring gauges and speaking in calm tones. Elena watched the readings on her portable scanner. Everything appeared within normal limits. Suddenly, the core's glow dimmed. A low alarm bell rang through the chamber. The technicians gasped and pressed urgent commands on their consoles. Lysera's violet eyes flashed with concern. Elena felt a sharp jolt of worry. She stepped forward, raising a hand to calm the crowd. "Stand back," Elena said in clear, firm tones. Even though she spoke in human standard, every translator in the room carried her words. The technicians stepped aside. Elena knelt before the core's control panel and lifted the transparent cover. Within, delicate conduits of light arced between crystalline nodes. One node flickered in red. Princess Lysera watched anxiously. "Captain, what is happening?" she asked. Her voice trembled with the weight of her world's safety. Elena's eyes scanned the flickering node. "It looks like a power surge," she said. "One of the stabilizers is overloaded. If we do not act quickly, the core could shut down, and half the palace will lose power." She pressed her scanner against the crystal panel. It beeped softly and displayed fluctuating energy readings. Lysera took a step forward, but technicians gently guided her back. "No," Elena said softly. "Your people must stay safe. I will fix this." She opened her toolkit and removed a slender probe and a bundle of fine wires. The probe glowed faintly, calibrated to emit a small pulse of counter-energy. Technicians watched in silence as Elena worked. She inserted the probe carefully into the node. Sparks of blue light crackled. Elena held her breath and activated the counterpulse. The red flicker faded to steady blue. She then attached the fine wires from her kit to two adjacent nodes, creating a temporary bypass around the damaged stabilizer. A hum of power flowed through the wires. The core's glow brightened. Lights in the chamber returned to full strength. The alarm ceased. Technicians exhaled in relief, Lysera stepped forward, her face alight with wonder. You saved it, Lysera said softly. You fixed what our best engineers could not. Elna wiped her brow and smiled. On Earth, we call it jury rigging, she said, using a simple phrase for a quick temporary repair. It is not perfect, but it works until you can replace the part. She tapped her scanner again. Energy flow is stable. We should not lose power again. The head technician bowed deeply. Captain Vargas, your skill is unmatched. We are grateful. His voice carried respect, but also relief. Without power, life in the palace would grind to a halt. Food stores, climate controls, even the life support for some xenobiotic gardens depended on this energy. Lysera shook her head in admiration. You remain calm under pressure, she said to Elena. You do not panic when everything shakes. Her voice held a new note, one of genuine respect and trust. Elena packed away her tools and looked at Lysera. Fear narrows our mind, she said. When we stay calm, we see the solution. She reached out and pressed a hand to Lysera's arm. The empathic bond glowed softly between them, and Elena felt the princess's relief and admiration. Lysera's eyes glowed brighter. You have earned my deepest respect, she said. Not with force, but with steady hands and clear thought. She turned to the technicians. Let this be a lesson. In times of crisis, we must keep calm and work together. A wave of approval swept through the chamber. Technicians nodded and some exchanged smiles. The crisis had ended without loss, and they had learned a new way to face danger. Later, in a smaller chamber off the main hall, Lysera invited Elena to join her at a low table strewn with crystal cups of tea. The princess poured 2 cups of amber liquid that steamed gently. The room glowed with soft lantern light, and the tension of the morning had faded to a warm glow of shared victory. Lysera lifted her cup. To quick minds and brave hearts, she said with a gentle smile. Elena raised her cup in return. To unity of our worlds, Elena replied. They drank, savoring the sweet, spicy flavor that lingered warm on the tongue. Lysera leaned forward. I have spent a lifetime learning our palace's ways, but I have never before seen such calm skill, she said. On Earth, do you train for emergencies like this? Elena nodded. Yes, every officer learns how to think under pressure. We run drills until our hands move on their own. When you face fear, you focus on what you can control. She paused, thinking of her crew in the cold silence of space. It takes discipline and trust in yourself. Lysera studied Elena's face. Then she reached out and placed a hand over Elena's. Your people's strength is a gift. You showed me that courage can be gentle. Elena smiled. And you showed me that openness brings allies. If you had hidden your fears, I might have panicked. They sat in silence, 2 leaders bound by respect and a shared trial. Outside, the palace hummed smoothly, its lifeblood restored. The crisis had tested their bond and deepened it. In that quiet chamber, Princess Lysera saw Elena not as a foreign guest, but as a true friend and partner. And Captain Elena Vargas felt the honor of standing by a ruler who valued calm reason over power. Both knew that when even the greatest machine faltered, it was the human mind and heart that held the true power to heal and unite. As the evening light faded through the crystal windows, they rose together. Lysera walked at Elena's side, no longer burdened by doubt but buoyed by new trust. Behind them, the palace stood renewed, its future brighter for the test they had overcome, and for the promise of friendship that would guide them through all trials to come. Late afternoon light filtered through the palace's tall windows, casting soft patterns on the polished floor. Captain Elena Vargas and Princess Lysera walked side by side along a wide corridor that led to the palace's Hall of Echoes. The corridor walls were lined with crystal panels showing scenes from Etheria's long history, peaceful gatherings, grand ceremonies, and moments of discovery. Elena paused before one panel that shone with a scene of 2 ancient Ionis scholars sharing ideas under a sky of twin suns. She traced the image with her eyes and nodded thoughtfully. Lysera watched her. "This hall holds our greatest stories," Lysera explained. "Here we honor the power of words and memory." Elena smiled. "On Earth we have something similar. Libraries filled with books. They hold our stories, mistakes, and dreams." She glanced down the corridor. "I would like to show you our stories too." Lysera nodded and led the way. Soon they arrived at an arched doorway, beyond which lay a vast chamber lined with glowing shelves. The shelves held floating crystals, each one engraved with images and words. When a visitor touched a crystal, it projected a vivid scene in midair, a memory, a story, or a lesson. Princess Lysera guided Elena to a nearby pedestal with a large crystal prism resting on it. She touched the prism and it glowed softly. A clear projection appeared, a field of amber wheat swaying under a cloudy sky. A young woman with wind-tossed hair stood at the field's edge, her face filled with wonder. "This is the tale of the first harvest," Lysera said. "It tells how our ancestors taught each other to grow food, sharing knowledge so no one would go hungry." Elena watched the scene unfold. She saw villagers working together, teaching strangers how to plant seeds, tending the soil, and celebrating. The golden grains, once they grew. The projection ended with a feast under the stars, where dancers and musicians from many tribes joined hands. "It is beautiful," Elena said. "On Earth, our first farmers also learned together. We still celebrate harvest festivals, though now we use machines to plant and reap." She thought of her own home in a farming community. "I remember helping my family gather wheat when I was a child." Lysera smiled. "Stories connect us across time." She selected another crystal. This time the projection showed a great library on Earth, with walls tall as mountains and shelves that reached the ceiling. Humans floated on small platforms as they read enormous tomes. "Is that a real place?" Lysera asked, eyes wide. "Yes," Elena said, laughter in her voice. "It is the Grand Archive of Calidora. It holds millions of stories, from ancient myths to scientific discoveries." She stepped forward. "Come, I will show you a story from my world." With a gentle wave of her hand, Elena adjusted the projection. The library scene faded, replaced by a simple earth cottage. Inside the cottage, a girl sat at a wooden table reading by oil lamp. She looked up, surprised, as a small mechanical bird landed on the sill and sang a soft, melodic tune. The girl smiled, closed her book, and rose to win the little bird's key. "This is the story of Sundria and her singing bird," Elena explained. "It shows how curiosity and kindness can bring joy. Sundria found the bird injured. She cared for it, and they became friends." Lysera watched the girl cradle the bird. "On Etheria, we have tales of empathy like this. We learn that caring for others makes our world brighter." Elena nodded. "Empathy is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Even in our busiest cities, people pause to help strangers." She paused, considering. "But sometimes we forget. We get caught in our own lives." Lysera turned to Elena, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Stories remind us. They teach us who we are and who we can become." They moved deeper into the Hall of Echoes. Lysera chose a crystal engraved with a spiral pattern. When they touched it together, the projection burst to life, a great ship rising from Earth's orbit, carrying humans to new star systems. "This is the voyage of the horizon," Lysera read the crystal's caption. "It tells how humans reached for the stars, driven by hope and curiosity." Elena felt a thrill at the memory. "Yes," she said softly. "When I first joined the fleet, I dreamed of meeting new worlds, and now, here I stand on yours." Lysera's hand touched Elena's. "Your voyage brought us together." They watched as the projection showed humans and Ionis working side by side, building new stations in orbit, exchanging gifts of art and technology, and celebrating under both the sun and the glow of Aetheria's moons. When the projection ended, Elena turned to Lysera. "We share values: courage, curiosity, empathy, and hope. If our stories can join as well as our people, we will build a future neither world could achieve alone. Lysera's smile was radiant. Let us create a new story, one written by both our peoples. She selected a blank crystal from a nearby shelf and pressed it. It glowed, waiting to record the next chapter. Elena placed her hand on the crystal. Lysera placed her hand on top. For a moment, a soft light passed between their palms and into the crystal. In their minds, a new vision formed. Children from Earth and Etheria playing in a garden of glowing flowers, sharing games and laughter. Scholars teaching side by side in an open hall. Artists painting murals that combined Earth's colors with Etheria's light. When they withdrew their hands, the crystal glowed brighter, sealing the vision within its facets. Lysera gently lifted it and placed it on a pedestal marked Chapter 1, Unity. Elena felt her heart lift. We have begun. Lysera nodded. And together we will continue. As they left the Hall of Echoes, Princess Lysera paused at the doorway. She turned to Elena and bowed her head in the Ionis fashion, a graceful inclination that spoke respect and trust. Elena returned the gesture in human style, dipping her shoulder. The corridor's light seemed warmer as they walked back toward Tu, the grand audience chamber. The palace felt less like a place of politics and more like a home built on shared dreams and mutual respect. In the days that followed, Elena and Lysera held joint readings in the Hall of Echoes, inviting nobles and officers from both worlds to share stories. They recorded histories together, and scholars began translating works between Ionis and human standard. Princess Lysera stood at Elena's side as the first translated story was read aloud, a simple earth tale of two friends who overcame differences through cooperation. As the last words faded, the chamber erupted in applause. Lysera's hand found Elena's, and they shared a smile of pride. In that moment, both leaders understood that the power of stories, and the strength found in sharing them, would guide their worlds toward a future brighter than any they had known alone. And so, the next chapter of their alliance began, written not with swords or treaties, but with words, memories, and the shared hope of two very different peoples. Early dawn bathed the Ionis throne world in pale gold as Captain Elena Vargas stood on the sky bridge overlooking the city of Etheria. The air was cool and carried the scent of flowering vines that climbed the crystalline railings. Beside her, Princess Lysera adjusted the ceremonial sash she would wear at the signing ceremony. Both women looked out over a world made brighter by their shared effort. Elena breathed deeply. She thought of the long hours they had spent together, learning rituals in the Hall of Truth, saving the palace's power core, sharing stories in the Hall of Echoes. Each moment had tested their friendship and proved its strength. Now the final step remained, the formal alliance ceremony in the Court of Dawn. They walked side by side along the sky bridge, their footsteps echoing softly on the smooth stone. Below them, Ionis citizens prepared decorations of living lights, tiny floating orbs that glowed like fireflies. Human engineers from Elena's crew worked alongside Etherian artisans, stringing glowing vines along every arch and pillar. The bridge hummed with quiet excitement. At the Court of Dawn, a great open plaza carved from pale marble, dignitaries from both worlds gathered. Ionis nobles wore robes of pale lavender and silver, their faces serene and open. Human delegates in crisp uniforms stood with respectful posture. Between them, a long table of white crystal waited, cleft by a central channel that ran with gently rippling water. Princess Lysera stepped forward to the center of the plaza. Her silver skin caught the morning light, and her violet eyes shone with quiet pride. Captain Elena followed and took her place at the opposite end of the table. A low hush fell as both sides watched. Lysera spoke first, her voice clear in every translator. People of Etheria and Earth, today we stand together in friendship and hope. We lay down old fears and embrace a future born of trust and unity. A ripple of approval traveled through the crowd. Elena raised her hand and the translators echoed her words. We of Earth pledge our friendship and respect to Etheria. We offer our hands in cooperation, our minds in shared learning, and our hearts in lasting peace. Human delegates bowed their heads in unison. At Lysira's signal, 2 crystal pens appeared on the table, each filled with silver ink drawn from the palace's sacred well. Elena and Lysira approached the table together. They dipped their pens into the ink and began to write in 2 languages, Ionis script on one side, human standard on the other. Their hands moved in harmony, as if guided by the bond they had formed. When they finished, Lysira laid her pen down and touched the channel of water at the table's center. Elena did the same. The water glowed bright blue, then shifted to soft, violet, blending both worlds' colors. Tiny ripples spread, and floating lights danced across the surface. Gasps of wonder rose from the assembly. A hush fell again. Lysira raised her voice. Let this water seal our promise, that we will share our knowledge, protect each other, and grow stronger together. Elena added, May our worlds be joined in peace and creation. From the sky above, the palace's floating gardens released a gentle shower of luminescent petals. They drifted down like soft rain, settling on the shoulders of Ionis and humans alike. The petals pulsed gently, and every person felt a warm glow in their heart, a gift from Etheria's living gardens. As the last petal fell, the court of dawn erupted in applause and cheers. Ionis and human delegates embraced, shook hands, and murmured words of friendship. The ceremony had ended, but a new chapter had just begun. Later, under a vaulted pavilion draped in glowing vines, a grand banquet awaited. Tables of polished crystal held dishes from both worlds, Earth's roasted grains and savory stews, Etheria's nectar fruits and glowing flower petals arranged like living art. Guests moved freely between tables, sampling each delicacy, sharing laughter and stories. Princess Lysira rose and tapped her glass, causing the crowd to quiet. She looked at Elena and said, Captain, you have shown us what it means to be open, calm, and brave. Etheria will always remember your friendship. She raised her chalice of lunar wine. Elena stood and returned the gesture. Princess Lysira, you have shown us the power of honesty and the beauty of your world. Earth will honor this alliance always. She spoke sincerely, and the crowd responded with warm applause. As night fell, lanterns floated into the sky, drifting upward like stars returning home. Elena and Lysira stepped onto a balcony overlooking the banquet. The lantern's soft glow reflected in their eyes. Neither spoke for a moment. Both felt the weight and promise of the day. Finally, Lysira placed a hand on Elena's arm. This is the start of something greater than either of us. Elena nodded, her gaze on the drifting lights. Yes, together we will write the story of our alliance, one of peace, growth, and shared dreams. Below them, the crowd cheered again, and the lanterns rose higher into the night. 2 worlds, once distant and wary, now stood united under the same sky, ready to face whatever challenges and wonders the galaxy would bring. And so the promise of a new alliance born of trust and respect illuminated the future for both Earth and Etheria, forever changed by the courage and compassion of 2 remarkable women.